Hello everyone, welcome back to Rolling Solo. My name is Adam Smith and I'm very excited today to be revisiting a game which I covered on the channel with a playthrough called Journeys in Middle-earth. And what you're seeing here on the table right now is the first big box expansion for Journeys in Middle-earth. There was a smaller sized expansion which was to complement the core game, but this expansion really does ramp up the amount of content you're going to have inside the Journeys in Middle-earth experience, very much like the Mansions of Madness line when the first big box expansion released for that. It really did bolster the game and also add replayability to it as well. I'm really excited to see what this thing adds to that core experience, and in this video we're going to go ahead and flip this box over, take a look at the back of it to find out exactly what it's going to add, and then we're actually going to dive inside and check out all the components. So without further ado, let's check out the back of the box. Threats rise in Mirkwood and Moria. The dwarves listened and shook their beards, for they knew that they must soon venture into that forest, and that after the mountains it was the worst of the perils they had to pass before they came to the dragon's stronghold. And that quote comes from The Hobbit. Shadowed Pass is an expansion for the Lord of the Rings Journeys in Middle-earth board game, adding new heroes, enemies, terrain, and items to all of your adventures in Middle-earth. This expansion also unlocks an all-new campaign containing 13 scenarios in which the heroes fight through the tangled paths of Mirkwood and venture deep into the shadowed halls of the abandoned Moria to face ancient evils. Will you heed the call? Gather your friends, prepare your heroes, and brave the terrors of the shadowed paths. As you can see here, the game contents are all laid out, but don't worry, we'll be taking a look at all those pieces up close. And as with most board games, you get a sneak peek at what you can expect to find inside the box right here. And I don't know if you guys noticed this, for those of you that didn't know this in advance, we do have Gandalf and the Balrog in this one. When you first open up the expansion, you'll be greeted by the rulebook, which again, like the cover of the box, has beautiful artwork on it. I really do appreciate the artwork in this one already. We'll go ahead and flip this to the first page. You'll see more of that stunning artwork. In the top left-hand corner, as Fantasy Flight Games does, it has an overview. It also has some flavor text, talks about using this expansion, and really the most important thing to take away from that section is if you pick up this expansion, ensure you go to the app, to your collection, and enable this expansion there. That will give you access to the campaign that comes with it. Plus, it also ensures that it's pulling components into the other adventures which already exist from the core game. That's a real big thing not to miss. Then the expansion icon is something you can expect to find, this web icon on these components. So later on, if you want to pull items out of the decks and just play with the core game experience, it's easy to do so. And also understand what's coming from which system, whether it be the core system or if it's from an expansion or add-on. We have the component list right here. We have changing paths and roles mentioned below. And what it's going to get into now is the specifics of what's different in this expansion than what is covered in the typical original rulebook. So we have expansion rules. Branching choices is something here. Corruption is a big thing. Difficult ground. We have elevation as a form of terrain, and we have a log as a form of terrain. Now, just before I go any further, I want to read a little bit about these expansions differences right here, because I think they'll be kind of key and individuals might want to know about this. The branching choices is, at the end of an adventure, the players may have a choice of which adventure to play next. When this happens, the app alerts the players to the choice, and they have a chance to review each option in the map scene before choosing which adventure to play next. So that's kind of cool. It can branch off, and you get to choose that. Corruption represents the growing forces of greed, despair, and suspicion that influence the heroes. Unlike damage or fear, corruption stays with the heroes throughout the entire campaign and is tracked by the app. So a whole new thing that can come after you there. Difficult ground is a property of some spaces, as you can see right here. And that's going to make those spaces more difficult to move through. And that's not all the terrain differences in this expansion. We also have rubble terrain and we have web terrain. And now we get to the punch boards. We'll go ahead and remove the wrap and take a look at these one by one. I'll mention quickly before moving through these punch boards that you can see the difficult terrain icon, for example, right there. All right, so this is the very first one. And you'll see the artwork for all the different terrain tiles here, as well as there's tokens for NPCs and more tokens from what we're familiar with from the base game. We'll flip these over to the opposite side and you'll see major differences here on the opposite side in terms of the terrain, and that is pretty cool looking. We'll move past this one, check out the next tile, some more outdoor terrain. Flipping this over, got some very interesting areas here. I'll try to maneuver this around to get the right orientation for you guys. You can see it's quite cool indeed. Very different. All right, next up here, we have some larger tiles as well as what appears to be some logs. And we got, of course, the rubble over here, bag tokens. Flip this over to the opposite side. Oh yeah, there's some major variations between the different terrain types now. That's a really cool one, just a room full of treasure. Like that. And the thing is with these is there's some really, really small intricate details on these tiles. Like, it doesn't look like much maybe from this particular angle, but when you're up close to these, there's a lot of tiny little details, especially like on this one, for instance, that you can really, really dive into if you want to actually like look at them closely. Here's some more. I also like the fact that they, you know, because of this, the hex style that they went with this, they're able to create some pretty interesting tile layouts. Like this piece right here is quite large and quite different in terms of its shape. Wow, look at that. That's pretty cool. Like that. Got the web tokens down the middle there. Next one. I think this is the second last one right here. It's like we got some trees, clearings, terrain tokens. That's really awesome. I like that. All right, and the last one here, we got the corruption tokens and the backside of these as well. And these tokens right here are difficult ground tokens. And at the bottom of the box, we have a bag full of miniatures as well as some character cards underneath that, plus a tall looking stack of mini cards to add to the core game experience. So without further ado, how about we go through each of these components? As you just saw in the prior clip, I showed one of each of the different types inside the box, but there are duplicates of many of them, as you can see. And that's going to wrap up the unboxing for the Lord of the Rings Journeys in Middle-earth Shadowed Pass expansion. I really hope this helps you make an informed decision on what you can expect to find inside the box if you're interested in picking up this expansion. Thank you guys so much for watching, and as always, keep on rolling solo.